Implementing the big ideas needed to meet the Valley's future energy needs requires a robust, well-trained workforce. Our panel of experts will share how unique partnerships and creative program initiatives can strengthen workplace pipelines, increase industry awareness, and work opportunities. Please welcome our panelists.
Well, good morning. Thank you for coming back. Since Doug needed no introduction, I guess I don't need an introduction either. But just if you don't know, my name is Danette Scudder. I'm the Executive Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer at TVPPA, and I am honored to be joined by our esteemed panelists this morning. I will hand it over to them in just a moment to allow them to introduce themselves. If you've ever done public speaking and had someone read a bio, I much prefer to decide what filtered information I want you to know about myself. But all of that said, as Marlon said, this panel is to talk about recruiting, training, and retaining your workforce. So we heard from Jimmy this morning about the customers, the ghosts of customers past, present, and future. So as we're going through this presentation, I urge you to think about the ghost of your workforce, past, present, and future. Because the things that we're going to talk about not only apply to your existing employees, probably the culture that you've put in place that has been cultivated over time, but also thinking about what the future holds for the workforce. So this is really important as we enter into a much more competitive environment. There was a recent Pew Research study report that said that of U.S. adults under 50 who do not have children, 47% never plan to have children. So if we're looking at a almost 50% rate of no children, now while Jared noted that in the Southeast in particular, we're not seeing that, our birth rate is much higher. So unless all of those 50% or 53% of the children are born in the Southeast, we will have challenges with just having enough humans to do the work that we need done. And we're going to be competing, again, as Jimmy said, for these data centers that may be building their own generation facilities, and they are going to be looking for the exact same skill sets that we are. Not just your new employees, but your experienced employees. So you are going to be competing with your customers for the same workforce. And so how do we create organizations that people want to come work in, that you are continuously investing in their training and development, and that they stay? Because I know I'm not going to belabor you with all my generations in the workplace stuff, but we know that younger generations in particular are not as interested in staying for 30, 40, 50. I know we just had a member that celebrated an employee who had been there for over 60 years. So that's pretty remarkable, but that's not what the future holds in terms of the longevity of our employees. So just want you to think about that, and think about the fact that Gen Beta, did you know that we're up to Gen Beta? Gen Beta starts this year. And when you think about the things that are hallmarks of different generations, the reason that 2025 kicks off Gen Beta is because of AI. Because they are going to be the first generation in history that doesn't know a world before AI. So when we talk about AI and the influence and certainly the efficiencies, and this is a shameless plug for the hot topic breakout here in a little bit that I'll be introducing Brian Taylor at CDE, talking about all the ways that AI can be used in a utility. That's going to be a Magnolia F for those of you that would like to come in there. But we need to be preparing for that. And again, this isn't about just recruiting young people, the next generation. It's also about understanding the needs, interests, and the development opportunities for our existing workforce and our more seasoned and expert employees. But with that, I'm going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves, and on request, I'm going to ask Scott Hendricks to start to give you an official welcome to Mississippi.
I suppose Marlon should have said this, but I'm a sixth generation Mississippian, and I think it's my pleasure to welcome TVPPA back to Mississippi for the first time since 2012. All 6 other states of you and everybody else that's part of this family, welcome to the southern end of the system. Welcome to Mississippi. We're proud to have you here, so thank you very much for coming.
background on how you got to where you are today.
I'm Britt Dye, CEO, General Manager of Fayetteville Public Utilities. I actually start my 49th year next month, and I came up from the bottom as a journeyman lineman, building substations, metering, went into broadband business back in 1999. So I had several projects that I had to oversee, and then I went to engineering operations as a director. Then I had the opportunity to move up to the CEO position back in 2007.
Well, that doesn't sound like a plan of growth. I don't know how we'll lead this panel, but I'm Jerry Trout with Gallatin Department of Electricity. I'm the Director of HR and Admin Services there. I got my start there in the drive-thru, so in the cashier. Finished up schooling, went into the Executive Assistant's office, learned some things there. Finished my master's degree, got my SHRM certification, became the Director of HR and Admin Services at GDE. Been there in July will be 10 years, and it has flown by. Gallatin Department of Electricity has about 27,000 customers and about 51 employees. I say 51 and a half because we have an engineer who hopes to start in June. Again, another growth pathway there. I enjoy everything I do there, and I certainly enjoy meeting everyone here.
I'm glad she's here, so we have an actual employment expert on this employment panel. But I was talking to Dan outside about all the number of hats I wear, so I'll talk briefly about my hats. I'm a 29-year co-op support person. I was an attorney for the systems in Mississippi before I got the request or nod to become a CEO. I'm Scott Hendricks, I'm the CEO of Tombigbee Electric Power Association, Tombigbee Fiber, located in Tupelo, Mississippi. I've represented several co-ops in the room, several systems in the room, and it's been a pleasure to be part of this industry, help write state laws, help write the Broadband Enabling Act, and see all the change in the last 29 years, which is nothing for what we're going to see in the next 5. So it's been a pleasure so far, and maybe we'll have to get some new hats tonight.
I'm Jason Kirkland. I'm the General Manager of Electric Board of Junction. This September, I'll be having my 30th year there at the Electric Board. 2018, I became General Manager, and my pathway to General Manager was much like Britt. I started out journeyman lineman, worked my way up through the company, and took over in 2018 of our department there in Gunnersville, Alabama.
Well, thank you, and I think it's just a testament to the utility business that regardless of how you enter the organization, you can be a leader. And as long as you are focused on your development and growth and invest in yourself and the organization, possibilities are endless. So one of the other things I wanted to kind of set a tone with is I do a lot of research as I'm preparing for some of my presentations, and there's a new future of work that's called the Total Reward Strategy, and it is basically 8 components, and it's compensation, benefits, leadership, culture, work-life balance, learning and development, and well-being. And regardless, again, of whether you're a new employee or an existing employee, they're looking for more from their organization than just a paycheck and just the benefits. They are looking for it to be a comprehensive experience. So as we're talking about recruitment, training, and retention, think about how your organization pulls on each of those components of the future of work to have that total package for your employees. But my first question for you all is about recruitment, training, and retaining employees. What challenges have you experienced in these areas? And that's open for any of you to respond to.
Ladies first.
Thank you so very much. The biggest challenge right now is electrical engineering and recruiting in that area. It's almost like this scary umbrella when people get into the electrical engineering side at school. Many of our interns who have come in, they'll be there for a year, they'll go to school, and they start that pathway, and they've determined that mechanical engineering was easier. So they step outside of that electrical engineering background. And so now it's how are we showing up in those in the school places to recruit those electrical engineers? How do we sell that Gallatin is the place to live, work, and play? How do we share that you can have a successful life at GDE? But that is where our biggest recruitment challenge is right now, is in the engineering network.
Since it's quiet, I'll chime in. I've been blessed. We live in North Mississippi. We still have a ton of young men and women that want to work in the co-op world. We still have the young men that want to be pull-top cowboys, that want to be linemen. But what I see as the future developing is that that's going to decline rapidly. So we have to find more ways to tell them who we are and what we do and where we come from. And so I don't think the challenge has been till today, although it's hard to find an electrical engineer, absolutely. Even harder to find an electrical engineer that wants to live in Mississippi, wants to stay in your system. So you have those challenges. But I think the future is where the real challenge is going to be. We've always been the best employer in our regions. We've always been the best place to work. We've had the best benefits. We've had the best reasons for people to stay in their community. And I've had 3 employees be there over 50 years. And I have 1 million been there for 40 years and 30 years. But I think in the future it's going to be hard to show them all those 8 elements and the well-being and everything else. They want to be off. They want to have their weekends in their life, and they don't want to dedicate 40 years to one employer with the youth today. And so as time goes on, it's going to be more difficult. I think Mississippi is shielded. I think we're behind the times, but those times are going to catch us in the next 5 and 10 year windows, and we're going to have to deal with that. And the CEO after me is going to have a lot of problems. So maybe they can figure it out. But that's what scares me. That's the biggest challenge to come.
Well, we're very blessed as well, and with our employees, we give them so many different opportunities to advance inside the company. We have 5 different utilities that we provide services for. And each one of those, it gets more challenging, whether if you're a certified operator, if it's water, if it's wastewater, plus fiber splicers in the broadband side, and anything that's on the electric side as far as your journeyman lineman, keeping everybody home. So we have put out a lot of goals for our employees that gives them the opportunity. If you want to move up, you're going to have the opportunity. And I guarantee you that most of them will stay if they just have an opportunity to grow within your company. And it's all about the money, right? So you got to be competitive on the salary side. So as long as you can be competitive and show everybody what everybody makes in the surrounding areas of where you operate, and then you'll be able to hold on to some of those employees.
When I think about the challenges that I see come along with the workforce and what we see at Gunnersville is that our newer employees that we hire today compared to 10, 15, 20 years ago, they do not have as an advanced skill set as far as out in hands-on work experience. What we see is a lot of young people who went through lineman schools or training, and then when you get them and hire them in, you realize that their actual work experience or what the ability that they have that was once fostered in their community or their home on a farm, bush hogging, driving a tractor. We still have in-house right away. We have folks that bush hogging for us. You find that skill set is not as prevalent now as what it was 10 to 15 years ago. And so even though that we have guys that can climb and they've got certification and they have CDLs, I think that as we see this new workforce enter into our workforce, we've got to really look at ourselves about what are we doing to develop them once they get there. Because I don't know about everybody else, but I'm not really getting the finished product no matter what certificate that they have. And so we live in a utility world where most of the time, if we're honest with ourselves, we're more about output than what we are input. But I think for us to develop this new age of employee that we all will be getting in the workforce, we're going to have to really look about the input more than the output, at least for maybe a first year or 6 months. And I think that's the challenge. I'm saying, where is that timeline that you draw, that how much time are we going to give for the developmental process?
Well, thank you, and since you have the mic and you have a PowerPoint presentation, I'm gonna let you start off answering the next question, which is about what unique partnerships and programs have been developed so that you can join in your community to build that workforce pipeline. So I think you guys have this presentation queued up, so.
Okay. So we were blessed at Gunnersville, and I believe in the year of 2022, to develop with our local high school what we call our Pulse Student Academy. And our Pulse Student Academy is based through our local high school with our career coach. And because of that, it gave us great access to up-and-coming kids who did not want to attend college, but also some that did, but also many that were looking to go into a trade. So by this student academy that we started, we were able to start on the premises of teaching about what the local utilities do in our organizations and our communities, but also teach to the fact of that basic teamwork and leadership skills that these young students, when they graduate and that they go on, they could be the next leaders in our community. And I don't know if they have the slides ready, or if I've got the pinpoint, but as you see, just kind of as we roll through those, we have about 10 slides right here with talking about cults and what we do, and kind of our leadership and what our core values are, what our main thoughts are. And we have 6 key points through those principles that we build that leadership and academy on. We've been blessed to have local utility leaders like Mr. Mike Shire, the Fort Payne Improvement Authority, to come and to visit and talk to our students. Gary Whitley with Huntsville Utilities has been a frequent visitor and talking to our young students about communication. The one thing that we see with this group is a high anxiety, social anxiety group. The opportunity to be able to speak in front of a public crowd is something that is not high on their list. They'll tell you, my biggest weakness is communication and talking to a local or a group of people. So we try to work with them and instill great leadership. We have leadership books that we go through. And the whole time trying to build this next set of leaders, but also in that, identifying people who want to get into the utility business, who wants to be linemen, and who want to carry on to the next level. And through this organization, we offer a scholarship either to a trade school or one of the lineman classes at Calhoun Community College there outside of Huntsville in the Decatur area. In Alabama. So we try to further that along the way. And as you go through these principles that we have, we've got a few slides here that show us in the classrooms, us with some of the folks speaking, and we're very blessed to have this opportunity and have access to this group. We take about 25 kids a year. Last year we had close to 50 sign up and want to participate, but through that really helps us identify great. So far through this group, we have 5 employees, and our local water board has one local future water plant operator that they hired to.
Great, thanks for sharing. Brett?
Okay, what we put in place back in 2010, we came up with an idea of having the student utility board. And with the student utility board, we have 7 people on that board, just like our FPU board members are set up. We have 3 high schools. We got 3 from the city school, 3 from the county, and 1 from the private school. It's a Christian school. So once they go through the training, they go to each department every month of learning how to do things and how we operate. So when we get through at the end of the year, we also offer a scholarship to the leading student with the most points of being involved in the community, doing social media podcasts, all those kinds of things. So they learn each part of each division that we have, that we offer services to all of our customers. And actually, it's a good recruiting tool for us because we have some that become very interested in what we do. And right now we have 3 that we have enrolled. We got one that just finished up at UT, that came back to work for us in cybersecurity. We have one that just finished up at MTSU for marketing and design. We hired, and we also got one that finished up, and now they're a full-time dispatcher for us. So it's really paid off for us because they don't know what a utility exists and why they exist, and then they get all these learning experiences. So it gives us a good chance to hire somebody that's really interested in what we do.
Well, and I know when I first found out about that program, one of the interesting things that you shared is that even those students on the board that don't necessarily come to work for FPU become ambassadors for the utilities in the community because they understand. And in a world of social media, when people are quick to attack without understanding, and I think you would all agree that most of your members and customers don't truly appreciate what you do, that to have those individuals in the community, especially those young people who are very savvy on social media, to be out there as your defenders and asking their fellow customers or members to pause a moment before they criticize and attack because they don't fully appreciate what's going on. So I think that is another layer of success story in addition to having great employees, but to actually have that community support by those who have been on the inside. So, Scott, you want to share with us about your Splicing Rodeo Co-op Expo?
Sure. Historically, the only thing we did for the youth was we took people on the NRCA youth tour. We expanded that into a program where we do a cooperative university, when we bring kids, all the applicants or all the qualified kids in for a day and choose the ones that get to go to Jackson, Mississippi for the legislature in DC for that. That's all we did before I got there. We since have developed two things that have just been wonderful. The first was the Splicing Rodeo. There's an organization called Megapop in North Mississippi that served a purpose to try to bring middle mile fiber to Mississippi. And now they've switched to an education organization, and they do a digital innovation conference, and they wanted to involve the youth. And they asked me, what do we do? I had just heard something about the lineman rodeo. I said, well, we'll do a splicing rodeo. They said, what's that? I said, I don't know. We'll have to admit it. But the first year we had 20, 30 young men and women come out, and we did splicing contests, 3 rounds, tournament progressed, and 2 or 3 people got scholarships to go to the junior college for the new splicing program and fiber program they have there. That program was started by some people at the university and some employees of Alcorn County Electric, and my folks were in reserve, and now my folks have stepped into a primary role educating them, the students in that program. But that has grown. This last year we had about 90 kids sign up, and about 83 show up, and so that shows them what we do on that side. Then we had been getting pressure to do ride-alongs. Some youth through the career coaches, as Mississippi's developing a pretty strong career coach program at this point, wanted to come do ride-alongs. And our mean lawyer says that's not safe and didn't want to do that. And I couldn't convince myself I was wrong, so we had to come up with something new. So the first year we did it, we had a safety trailer brought in from North Central Electric, and we had Bonaparte Electric come and set up a climbing exhibit, and I brought 20 of my crews out, and we brought 40 kids from 9 schools. This year we've expanded that to 6 co-ops came to help. Every co-op we touched was invited to come help, and it's going to expand even next year. Every school and every one of those co-ops was invited to come. So we had closer to 200 kids come this year, and coming through and seeing what we do and learning. And the best, you get the ambassadors. You get the people that know what you do and learn what you do and understand what it means when there's a power outage, and why maybe it doesn't get turned right back on, and what to expect, and the safety issues of it. And the really cool thing is I hired 1 young man for a lineman trainee program that has come through both programs. I have 2 that have interviewed just last week that got, we do a tool testing environment to see if they have any hands-on skills, because that is so lacking. Those 2 passed their tool test beautifully, and I'll hire 2 more this week that have been through these programs. In 2 years, we've only hired 3 people. It's all about outreach, it's all about education. Every one of these programs we've talked about so far is to tell them who we are, to tell them what we do, and to make them understand what's in the community. So whether you take some aspect of the board or some aspect of the expo, it doesn't matter, but it's about educating and informing. And this is what we have to do to make sure they understand who we are and what we need. And this will work for a co-op or a meeting, it doesn't matter. It's all about outreach, it's all about making them part of your community that they want to stay in, they want to be a part of it, and learn what the jobs are, what the skills are. I think if you do that, that may be the way you start getting toward those 8 points, and showing them that you care, that the well-being is important. While it may not be exactly what they want, it's a great lifestyle, and it's a good family to be a part of, as we all know.
I just want to add that if you're in the crowd and you're taking notes, you'll take those for me, because there's always something you can take back, and I've learned something for you and you and you. And so that's the biggest benefit of this brotherhood and this connection here is I'm sure each of these are willing to share something great that they're doing. What we're doing is not near as big as what they're doing, but I'll say that you shape your utility for what it needs to be and what you can do. So what we can do is not going to be the same as what they can do. You're going to take all of those things, work them together, and shape them into what you need at your utility.
Well, and that's a great segue into how is this insight into action? Gaining insight from each of the panelists on things that they've done opportunities that have presented themselves and how they've taken advantage of that, and then understanding how that may or may not apply to your organization. And so that action would be evaluating, all right, well, what elements of any or all of these might we take and implement to improve our processes? But Jarek, I do want to ask you to start off responding to this, because you alluded to it in your introduction. How do you build awareness about the industry and opportunities at GD in particular in your community? What are those relationships, those activities? What are you doing to raise awareness?
Sure. So about 5 years ago, I would say, we weren't as in the community as we are now. We've slowly and gradually built up there. I had an individual in the community. She was like, you know, before you guys were just a building, now I see you as people. And so our first connection there was showing up to events. If that is the Christmas parade, they want to see the big trucks in the parade. They enjoy seeing that. That's going to career fairs. And we go to career fairs from the elementary to the middle to the high school. If we service them and they ask us to come, we'll come. And so they're learning about who we are in the community, how we're showing up. They're asking questions. You know, some of those questions are a little different, but you know, the fun one is, why does the bird fly? Why can it land on the line? So that gets them at least interested in that conversation. And then if they have events at their school, we just had school Benny Bills who reached out. They do an egg drop. And so a lot of our elementary schools are STEM related schools, so science, technology, engineering and math. And so our bucket trucks went out there, and I'll say our linemen love to be out and involved in that. And sometimes it's twisting their arm and saying, no, you can go. And then they come back and they're like, oh my goodness, this is great. But even in that sense, they got to learn a little bit about who we are and making that connection. We were able to help. So we're not just a building anymore. And we're showing up at even youth job fairs. We're trying to talk to the career coaches at the high school level as well. And then even showing up to the chamber functions, you know, that starts to put your face with who GDE is, and they can ask questions. And then hosting things like Leadership Gallatin, coming in and coming through, they get to be advocates for us in the community. They get to learn, they get some insight into GDE and who we are, and they get to answer questions on social. So I ask them when they're there and they're learning this information, can you be advocates for us in the community? Now that you have the inside track on that information. And then we've hosted APPA's Day of Giving at GDE once before, and even that, showing that you're willing to go out into the community and also pick up the trash alongside of everyone else is pretty important as well. There isn't anything that we try to stray away from at this point, because we want everyone to know that we want their success, and if we can tell them who we are, that means they'll stay in Gallatin and have a successful career there as well.
There's nothing better than sending a big gruff lineman to the elementary school, and then they come back so happy. I've got an underground guy named Al, and he didn't want to go the first time. He's a little shy. He wasn't done like a big, huge hulking guy. We sent him, and he had to sit down and read to the elementary school. And now every time we go to school, and no matter if it's a kindergarten to high school, Al's there. If you look at my social media for the Cooperative Expo, there's a great picture of him, just really in depth with the kids, and he loves it. And it lets them feel good about themselves and what they do both ways. And we'll go to any school and do any event, just like you're doing. It really touches the community, and then they'll see you out at other events, and they know who you are, and know what you do. And we've turned around our social media negativity. So we were silent. I think we were silent for 80 years, and I've spoken at several events around the country since. And we had our first big outage on fiber. We had 9,000 people out for 12 hours. We had 3 144s cut. It was horrible. And we started posting every 15 minutes for that whole time. And we started that event with negativity. We ended that event with positivity. And ever since, if anybody posts a negative post on our social media, I have 100 heroes that come in and rescue us because they understand our story now. So we have turned that tide. If you're not doing that, I encourage it. Tell your story everywhere you can, every opportunity you can, because it's a beautiful story. You changed America. You brought power to rural communities. You changed the valley. Your community is what it is because of you. Economic development is what it is because of you. Don't be shy about telling your story. Some of you aren't, and some of you are, but none of us should be, because it's a beautiful story top to bottom, from elementary school to high school. If you we do that, it's how we keep these people interested, it's how we recruit, it's how we get lifetime employees like we've always had. It's gonna be a struggle, but the story's still beautiful, we need to keep telling.
I think if you can get to a point that you can find yourself being visible in your community. Jericho mentioned about how the Gallatin had progressed in the last 5 years. Electric Board of Gunnersville was the same way that I took over in 2018. It was mentioned that we know you're here in the community, but we don't ever see you other than just doing what you do, which is sometimes a great thing. But also, I believe our communities want to see us out reaching them. They want to hear us be a voice for the community, be an advocate for the community when we can in certain issues. We too, like most of the rest, we take advantage of all career days. Great relationship with our career coach at our local high school. We have been known to go play the junior high and dodgeball a time or two. And so we like to have a little fun along the way. We are expecting a challenging kickball, but I don't think we're gonna get it this year. But it lets them see that we have fun too, but those kids get to interact with us. So you know, if it's touch a truck day for our community, just like many of you have, you're gonna be there and be involved. But I think if you can become a voice and then just have visibility within your region, you're gonna see folks kind of gravitate to that and be able to draw folks to your problems.
Something else we did today is on our fiber side that I thought was really neat. We started with building fiber to all the local high schools. We thought of running that fiber together, community Wi-Fi and all those things. Now it's gone to every school, every town, every park, everywhere we serve that's another place. We turned on 27,000 home units to where we can give free access to first responders across our region. And we can now go into communities and tell them we're doing that just in case the radio doesn't work, the cell phone doesn't work, our network always got a 57% chance of being there if that house could save a life. And they see us making these differences and being involved in the community, and that helps on this process. Sorry to steal your time, go ahead.
That's okay. What we do is to be involved in the community. First thing is we put Christmas parade on YouTube and we shoot it live. City meetings, we shoot it all live. Then we'll go out and visit all of our industry and small commercial. Try to do some commercials with the leading leadership in all those areas. And then we have what we call a big ribeye sandwich sale. And we'll sell about 700-800 tickets a year to raise that money we give back to the community as far as like the Relay for Life, the Heart Association, Kids in Need. We buy clothes for the bedding company and bedding supplies for all those folks. So we're very, very involved, and we're also blessed to have TVA. We just did a big cut over the other day with TVA of Hands of Mercy, and we give them with TVA with what they call cooler lockers, where they can store food now, and they don't have to be open for people to come in and get the supplies they need. They can get an access code. They go in, unlock the food locker, so they're able to get access to that food. And you know, with everything else that we're involved in, I don't know how we get time to really work because we are that much involved in our community.
All right, so we've talked about recruitment, we talked about building awareness. So now that you have the employees, what do you do with the employees? So talk a little bit about your approach to professional development and training for your employees and what programs you have in place and what that looks like.
I'll take that first. Well, I think being here today, we have a great asset with us with TVPPA, and that offers great professional training, great apprentice training, and certainly our view from our organization, no matter where you are at in our organization, you have the opportunity for training. Whether it be through TVPPA, whether it be through specialized training, we bring in folks, consultants, that when I see areas that our department needs to work on, or maybe certain employees will bring in consultants to work with them and work with our department to grow. And so I would encourage everyone that if don't put a lid on the training. I think that so many times we get an employee, we get them trained in the position that we want, but just make sure they've got opportunity for growth, and sometimes you gotta push them to get them there. But for an organization to really grow, there never can be really a time that you say, well, we're all trained, let's just keep working. And so that's where we kind of do that and approach it.
I'm gonna steal some of your TVPPA, because we also utilize a lot of their training certificates, from our customer service staff. Once they meet their training categories there, it's about a 3 to 4 year before they're able to go into the certified customer service certificate. But each certificate that someone earns, from design staking, line design staking, or the PDE, or all the different certificates that TVPPA has to offer, in that GDE also rewards them with a small pay bump, so that what you're training for, what you're learning, and what you're bringing back to GDE is important from all of those skills that you're able to gain there. Why would we not reward you? You know, why would we not say, hey, you're doing a really great job, we appreciate you investing in yourself and investing in GDE. We also have a continuing education policy that you have to be at GDE for a year to utilize that, and you can be reimbursed up to $3,000 a semester. I myself utilized that program twice, once to finish my bachelor's degree, the second to finish my master's degree. And then you're rewarded for all of those things. If you're willing to invest in yourself, and GDE is willing to also invest in you, then why would we not continue that pathway of rewarding you? Our employees internally, we've started a job shadow program so that all departments can see what all departments are doing. That way those silos are brought down, because I know that many of you know not one department can outshine the other department. Yes, our linemen work in a very hazardous condition, but if there's no one there to answer the phones, then how would they know? If there's no one in the accounting office to make sure all the things are going around, how are they gonna get paid? You know, each department has something to offer, and I think it's important for everyone in our department at GDE to learn what everyone's doing, and then you can be grateful. You can say, hey, I understand why sometimes you have a hard day. And then we did, something else I learned from a different conference is the ideal team player. I'm not sure if many of you all have read that book, but a lot of those 3 virtues in that book are hungry, humble, and people smart. So we did a workshop with that on our first go around. We had 8 of us in that room, and you start breaking down icebreakers, and you're being vulnerable with people outside of your department, and you're learning and you're investing in them in that way to build those virtues, to make a leader. You don't have to be at the top of the department to be a leader. You can lead from where you are, and teaching that. And so that was our first round in that, and they enjoyed it. But then following up, not just using that and getting started, but saying, hey, I truly believe in you. I want you to have that virtue. I want you to work on your people smart. So it's taking the time to listen and invest, and then also rewarding along the way.
We do several training inside the house, mainly with TVPPA. We also train with TECA as well, and through NRECA. So a lot of our employees have the opportunity to train, but then if they ever want to promote and move, they can come from one department to the other. So if they work in the wastewater department, they always have another chance if they want to work inside the electric department. But we do the in-house job shadowing. It's open to all the employees inside, but it's open to all the students on the outside. Like this past year, we had 25 students from the local schools that came in and went through the job shadowing program that we offer. And that's another good recruiting tool that we use to get good employees. But the employees on the inside, if they ever want a chance to grow, they can grow. And each step they take, they get more money to move up and more challenges to make that move. And that's how we're very, very successful in the employees that we have, because we reward the top performers, right? You gotta reward your top performers if you want to keep good employees.
So for 87 years, we probably did very little training, just to be frank. We lived on our island, we didn't do a lot of communication. We probably had some outside training in Mandarin and some banking kind of stuff for the outside guys, but very little. So we're in the infancy of doing the things everybody else is talking about. But there are opportunities, and there are conferences, schools, certificates, speaking of that. We're beginning to dip our toes in that and offer that to anybody. I don't want to hold anybody back. I want to bring every employee along the way. A cool story about the job shadow. We didn't call it that. We weren't that sophisticated, but 3 of the young ladies in the office wanted to understand how to do. So we taught them how to do installs and let them get the ladder out and go up the pole and do the job, and they now have a better understanding of it. None of the 3 wanted to do it permanently, But when that customer calls and says, why is this taking so long? All three of those have now told everybody in the department what it's really like. And it's just good knowledge. So everywhere you can pick that up, I would encourage it. And I'm not up here, I have nothing to add to make anything better than these three have talked about, because we're doing this. So we need to learn from them, and I need to learn from you. And but training and growth is imperative to make a successful organization. We're committed to it.
So Jerica talked about leadership and leading from where you are in the organization. Well, you all are not only leaders from where you are, but you are in positions of leadership. So as a leader, how do you set the tone and create an organizational culture that helps you retain your valuable employees? You know, the ones, your top performers, those that you would, if you could, you would clone because you want more of them. So how do you create a culture that not only values them, but makes them want to stay?
I'll start a little bit with that, and I'll agree. Give them a voice. Prior leadership didn't make decisions quickly, didn't involve people in decisions, didn't make them feel appreciated, and didn't make them feel a part of the team. And if you just empower them, they're really the people, they're smarter than you. Give them the chance to speak and learn and grow and opportunities, and make them part of the decision. And even if they don't make the decision, if the group makes a decision, or if you ultimately have to as the ultimate leader, they were part of the process. And so then they own it, they get behind it, and they're there. It's a group effort, it's a family effort, it's moving the organization forward, and you're better for it. And so that's what we've done that's different from the other 8 to 7 years. And it's proven well, and there's great people, great leaders coming up, and lots of good decisions I don't have to make, because they're part of it. They're leading the way, and they're smart. They have the day-to-day, they're on the ground, whether it's up front in the office or out in the field. You empower them and bring that up, and it's their organization, it's not mine, it's theirs, and our members and our employees, and so that's how we're doing it, and how we're getting to experience. I think that's the best way to do it. I yield.
When I think about the culture that we have, or what we're trying to do in our department as far as leadership, there's 3 things that I hold dear, and I believe that really brings that to where we are today. Building confidence, having consistency, and having character. We are who we are when nobody else is looking. And I think if you have a high character group that are confident about what they're doing, and you're consistently dealing with, they know what the bar is every day. They know with me and our organization that we've got an open door. We're not up one day, down the other, but they know they've got consistent leadership. That begins to breed consistent leadership. We've been told all of our lives that mediocrity breeds mediocrity, and it certainly does. But if we want great leaders, we've got to build them with great confidence. We've got to let them know that we're consistent in how we approach everything. But if we'll do that in a high character way, we'll create a culture in our group, in your department, your co-op, your municipal, that will outshine everyone in the city. And when you put your heart to that, and those are 3 keys we go by. Look, I can give you 6 points of pulse, and I can give you my 3 points that I think that we go up. It's a lot like Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to leadership. It's about how that you apply. Find out what works really good for you in your department, and you'll see it grow.
Well, what we do at the utility is we're very family. And what I mean by that is we have an awards banquet every year for all the employees. We have potluck dinners with 126 employees. If you want a meal to eat, you got 126 different dishes sitting there. It's very, very good eating. We also do the community events as far as the family. We have breakfast with Santa, where we bring in all the kids that belong to the family, grandkids. Also do a big Easter egg hunt that we bring in all the kids and grandkids. And we're so tight as a family, I don't know if you're aware, but here in the last couple of weeks, it's been pretty tough for us at work. If you heard of the accident on 975, that was one of our employees. And I get a little shaken up when I talk about that. But anyhow, it was very, very serious, and lost 2 out of that family. And just to let you know that, all your prayers are very, very welcome, but, it's been very, very hard for us at work.
We actually, pulled away from saying that we are a family, and we are a team, because sometimes you don't always like your family members, but you have to get along with your team to get the work done. For a long time, we did say we were a family, we're so little, we're so small, and we'd always say you don't have to get along with your family, but now we wanna be a team. Everybody needs to work together because everything works together for the holistic nature of GDE. And in order to do that, we started that from where we are in interviews. Can you be a team player? What are those questions? Dig a little deeper to make sure you're hiring the right person who can add value to the team. Do you have those virtues we're looking for? And so when you're making that shift, you're also making the shift in the rooms in which you're eating your lunches together. Are you sitting at the table with people that you don't normally sit with, because they are truly a part of the whole team? I like that you do, with Santa, we did cookies this year, and we had our CFO dressed as Santa, so that was really fun, and that was something very new for us. But we are an office where we listen to your ideas. So when someone brings an idea, sometimes it's dropped off, hey, I'd like us to see this, I'd like us to see that. And so now, when someone brings me an idea, I say, okay, how can you help make this idea, giving them the ownership of that, making it go forward. I always tell our employees, we do have an open door policy, but even if my door's not open, my phone is always on me. You can always call. I mean, I've answered a phone call on the ship to Mexico before. It's okay. I'm more than welcome to answer any question that there is. But building that culture where everyone has a place is important. And where do you fit? Do you fit because you add different characteristics? Do you fit because you add a different knowledge level? Do you fit because you ask the hard questions, you push the people? So your fit doesn't have to look like someone else's. It's literally a whole entire, it's kind of like a baseball team. Second base isn't going to take on first base. And so we have to find those individuals who are willing to put in the work to make GDE run smoothly, and just be thankful to be there. I don't know about many of you here, but I love GDE, I love what I do, and I hope that it always comes across with passion when I talk to anyone. And when you have people like that in your corner who are rock stars for you, that speaks to the community, that speaks to the culture, that speaks to if someone I have here from GDE is speaking to some other utility, I want them to know that we truly are a team. We're showing up for each other in that way.
Okay, so this is kind of we're wrapping up here, so the last formal question, but we may come up with more. But what do you anticipate are going to be your biggest challenges and opportunities in recruiting and retention in the near future? And how are you thinking through strategies to address that?
I started with that, so let me go.
I would say the biggest challenges that I'm seeing, and I think as we go forward in this work environment, by the year 2034, I think I read a while ago that 80% of the workforce is going to be millennial and below. So in that, am I doing a good enough job as the leader of our company, developing the leaders under me to be able to lead a workforce that is not like me? So if you think about that, a lot of you here in the room behind me, we got a lot of gray in our hair and some of us gone. But if we took 80% of this room today and in 9 years you're not here, are we building a workforce that can carry on what's been the legacy of our departments, co-ops, and munis for the last 100 years? And I think that's a great challenge for that, as I see it, to making sure that we're cultivating leaders that see the difference in that also understand about these different things, understand about this workforce, and I think that's going to be a great challenge for us all. The second thing very quickly would be the small utility. We've had employees stay, we've all been blessed to have employees hiring and staying 30 years. The retention may not be what it has been, so we have linemen that we can walk in the substation and do everything the substation, that needs to be done. Is that possibly gonna change in the future? Because I may not have that mature employee, 30-year mature employee, that really knows my system, knows about that station, that I've always been able to pick up.
I'll say, Mark, I'm sure you all know Mark Kimball here from TVE. He does a really good job of succession planning, and that's from his position to the customer service supervisor position, wherever that is. And it's making sure that next person in line, or that next potential leader in line, has those skills and developing those skills to be that next leader. And Jason and I were talking before here is, how do you let those people who, or remind those people who are teaching that succession that it's okay to let go of some of that knowledge, that it's okay to say, here, I'm passing the torch. And I think that you have to let them know they are valuable. You know, every person brings value, and just because you're teaching the skills doesn't mean you lose your value as a person. So planning for the future succession, which Mark does really, really beautifully, and then empowering our employees to know their value, and that just because they share the skills and the knowledge, they still have a place at the utility.
We as well have a great succession planning, and we go 3 people down. So if we got a accounting person that's over all the accounting, we got 2 other folks right now that can step in at any time to perform the same job with cross-training. We do the same thing as far as the line crew. We got lead linemen or foremen, all the way down to journeyman linemen. We have 11 apprentices right now on staff that are training to be journeymen. And it's like they were saying earlier, the experience and knowledge is very, very important. So you got to get them started early. These are like 21, 22-year-old kids. And the hardest part is teaching them how to work. And can you find those that want to work? And so once you get them involved and you teach them several different areas of what they can learn, they become more involved. But if you get them in every meeting that you can have all your employees in to participate, like I have 15 people in my budget meeting, because you're part of it, you're the ones that's got to make it work. And with a slim budget of how we operate and be successful as we are on what we do, with every project that we have going on, the more that they get involved, the more they want to be part of the company. So with that group, we hope that they're trained enough to stay and work like the older guys work, I guess. But we got a good succession plan, and that's what all making it happen.
I think we're gonna have to learn something I'm not good at. I think we're gonna have to learn flexibility. The generation you're talking about doesn't care about the pension plan. They would rather have paid time off. They would rather be in a role where they have a voice sooner than later. They value things differently than those sitting in the room. They value things differently than the ones between those sitting in the room and them. So I think we're gonna have to learn new things and do new ways, offer new benefits, and I think that well-being in the last element, I've hit it 3 times because I think it's key for the future. I think we've got to figure out well-being versus benefits. And that's going to be a challenge for many of us. I have a board that is significantly older. I have a management team that is all about my age. And then we're going to have these young men and women starting that view life very differently. So we're going to have to build a bridge. We're going to have to learn flexibility. We're going to have to be open-minded. And I already said from the day I got there, don't ever tell me it's that way we have always done it. But it's not even the way we're doing it now. And so that's the change that's coming.
Are you open-minded? Are you open-minded?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Can't you tell? And I never lie on stage. Only as a lawyer.
Well, and I want to, not to call Britt and FPU out that you all aren't doing this. I was just fortunate enough to have the opportunity to facilitate their strategic plan. And one of the focus areas was on ensuring that their succession planning process, as well as every individual role in the organization, was fully thought out. And they understood what those opportunities were and where those gap analysis were. And so that is just, and that took a long time, because when we came to the strategic planning process, it was largely done, but they recognized that in order to fully be successful, It needed to be done for every role, and understanding, you know, I'm sure you all track retirement eligibility and all of those kinds of things, but really to have a matrix to understand what that looks like and plan out 5-10 years in the future, because, you know, there are no guarantees, but if people see a pathway for success, even though I would say expectations are a little different on the pace at which things are going to occur, if they understand the incremental opportunity and that pathway to success, they may be more willing to hang on for 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, because they see the light at the end of the tunnel. They see where that opportunity is. So it's always encouraging to me when I see our member utilities that are making that part of their organizational strategy for success, because they recognize that certainly recruitment's important. Training, development, and retention is what is going to not only build your culture, but keep your culture, because you have those employees that not only are a cultural fit, they're a cultural add.
That's right.
And so I just wanted to give you all a little shout out on that. I'm sure you're all doing it.
Well, can I add to your strategic plan topic?
Of course.
Well, I would say if you don't have your leadership team in those conversations and you're holding it close to the belt, how do you ever expect for that strategic plan to move forward? If it's a big ugly binder that's scary that sits on the shelf, how do you ever expect that plan to move forward? So I encourage you to have your leadership a part of that. Make sure all your employees have a voice, have follow-up meetings. We do small groups now to make sure that our plan is moving forward. Put it on your employee site. Make sure everyone knows what your goals, what your opportunities, everything that you're working for and moving forward. That way everybody is helping that move forward.
That's great. So any other closing comments before I wrap things up?
I'll say one thing, and I've told 3 or 4 stories up here, that's what I like to do, I'll tell one more story. Show your employees they matter, but they're willing to do things beyond the task. We had an employee this week whose grandfather with dementia left his house and was gone for 7 days. We presumed he was dead. We asked him then what could we do to help, and he had no answer for us. And they were doing searches every day. So I told my electric supervisor and my fiber supervisor to take every truck that doesn't have to be somewhere else and put 150 trucks searching the community, driving the back roads that we know better than anywhere else. We know where the poles are, we know where the little turns are, we know where the cracks are in the pavement because we drive it so much. We went to look for his grandfather, spent 2 days doing it. That's not our job, that's not our elected purpose. But it shows we care about the community, about our employees, about our family, about our team. And it wasn't our purpose, but that's what makes your place special. I am proud to say they found him. In the area we were searching, we did not find him. A law enforcement officer riding horseback to the area found him, and he is in the hospital and well. We had nothing to do with the success of that story, but what message do we send to our employees? What message do we send to our community? We didn't stay on the system. We were driving on our dock system looking for this man. But that was a whole lot more important than maintenance for those 2 days. We'd have 360 some odd other days to keep the maintenance up. But we showed that they matter and that the community matters. And that really builds that environment that we need to make this work, no matter what generation you're from. So I just wanted to tell that story because it's a beautiful thing about what we all do, because I think anyone in the room would have said that. So.
I guess one thing I'd like to add is very, very important that let your employees know how much you really appreciate it. You know the work they do, if it's night, during the day, regardless of what the weather conditions are. And it don't have to be just a line crew. We have broadband folks that work out in all kinds of weather. CSRs that come in all kinds of weather and work. But it never goes a day that I don't tell the employees I really appreciate it. Because it means a lot to our organization. Plus they represent us as a whole. And the better they are in the community, the better the community takes what we do for granted. And that's what we want to do as spoil.
I think to cap just what they said, just let your employees know. We probably have about 16 outside guys I've got a great relationship with them. We've got about probably 11, 12 inside workers in our groups. And, week, day don't go by that somehow I don't let them know how much they mean to me and that I love them and appreciate them. And I tell our plus class that I love their students, and I'm not ashamed to use that word because we use it in our organization. And you've got, as Britt mentioned, you've got to let them know how much you do when you do. And Scott showed it this past week with the background project. That's when people will buy into you and you get that 110%. We're all trying to hire that 1% employee that's one out there. But to get that 1% employee, you've got to sometimes show them that you're there for them 110%.
I think they all have really great things. Be willing to listen, and when you're looking for that 1%, don't forget you can teach them the skill, you can't teach them to be a great human. So look for that great human and just be willing to listen.
Well, thank you. Please join me in thanking our panelists. I hope you gained some insights that will inspire you to take action that will transform your organizations.